Hey everybody, Dan here with Pain Free You. Today I wanted to talk about this idea of how to overcome your past. So, $1,000,000 question, right? So, we'll get to that in a second. Smile, breathe, drop the shoulders, trust, exhale the doubt. So, do you know people who seem to be stuck in the past, haunted by their past? Big T, little t, lots of trauma, abuse. Some not so much, but still struggling with the past, things that happen. And so, if you're a human being, that's normal, right? We have a memory, and the brain tends to remember the bad stuff, maybe a little bit more so than some of the good stuff. So, if you want to overcome the past, first thing I'll say is, let's stop talking about it, right? I knew a lady, was easily in her 60s, and every conversation we ever had, she would talk about the trauma from when she was 14. Literally every single one. But my trauma, my trauma, my trauma. And that was like 50 years ago. And yet she was still living as if that trauma was happening every single day. Now, I'm not debating the impact of trauma on our lives. I know there's a whole host of subconscious programs at play. But we do have some conscious ability to notice when I'm replaying the old trauma and make a decision. I'm not going to do that again today. I've done that 1,000 times just this year, let alone 50 years. So awareness and decision. Awareness. Am I in the past? Am I stuck in the past looking over every bad thing that ever happened to me? Because in a lot of cases, if you're talking about mind-body symptoms, looking in the past and going, oh boy, that was awful before. I hope I don't have the same thing happen again. Right? So get bored with the stories about your past, because the only way they're relevant is in your memory and in the subconscious, holding on to the emotional energy of that experience. But if you are haunted by the past, a good statement is it's not happening anymore. That thing from 50 years ago is not happening anymore. And make a commitment. I refuse to keep it alive as if it is. Awareness, decision. Oh, I'm ruminating on the past again. And for many people, they will say, because I was X, Y, and Z, abused, traumatized, whatever it may be, that's why I have so many problems decades later. And you're right. I'll validate that. Because we aren't here because it's our fault. We're here because of our life's experience and the way we have dealt with things the best we could based on what we knew and the options that were available at the time. So none of this is your fault. But the good news is, with awareness, knowledge, decision, we can make different decisions today that will vastly impact your today and tomorrow, and the tomorrows to follow. So if you are pointing to your past traumas or abuses as the reasons for why you are so challenged today, I'm going to encourage you to say, well, those things are no longer happening, and I can still create safety today. Mentally, emotionally, physically, how I treat myself. Key. How do I respond to symptoms? Do I expect symptoms? Do I expect better outcomes? Am I responding to symptoms as if I know what they are and I'm not bothered by them? Or do I panic every time I notice the symptoms, right? Am I starting to engage more in life? Am I doing more life and less fixing? Do I have the overall mindset of, I know what this is, I'm not broken, darn it? So, if you want to overcome your past, let's get tired of the stories. Let's get tired of telling people about how traumatic your past was. Yeah, it may have been, and I honor that. A lot of people have had really, really messed up childhoods, early adulthoods, mid-adulthoods. A lot of people have had a lot of bad stuff happen. But if you're constantly replaying the stories in your head or out loud and telling other people about all your problems in life, those stories get kept alive as if they're happening right now. Your brain doesn't know the difference between something you vividly remember and something actually happening right now. Because by vividly remembering it and telling the story of the awful things that happened to you, your brain goes, is that going on now? Holy cow, on alarm. Get ready. There might be bad stuff happening. Right? So let's get tired of telling this story. How many more times do you want to share how bad your childhood was? You know, reminisce about the good parts. And if you get together with siblings or parents or whatever, and all everybody does is talk about the bad stuff, say, hey, let's change this tune here. Let's think about the good stuff. What was your best memory of growing up in this house? How about the neighborhood? Did you have friends that you were friendly with? Was there always kids outside to play with? Turn it to thinking about the positive. What are you grateful for? How you were raised and how you grew up. It's never too late to create safety today. But if you're stuck thinking about, ruminating about, telling stories internally, externally about your traumatic past and all the bad stuff, and saying, well, of course I'm screwed up because look at what I went through, it's not a conscious choice for many, but now that you know what you're doing, it is a conscious choice to say, I'm no longer going to do that unconscious program. I'm going to get from unconscious to conscious and make a decision. I'm not going to play in the horror story of my past. I'm going to play in my present and make it to be as great of a hero's journey as possible. It's never too late to create safety, folks. Mentally, emotionally, physically, how you treat yourself, how you respond to symptoms, by focusing on living life with an overall foundational knowledge of what causes symptoms, the perception of danger, not always actual, the perception, and this applies to me, so I'm okay and I can get better. I will get better, just watch me. So let's get tired of telling the story of our awful past. Even if our awful past was a year ago when symptoms started, I get it. It was rough, and it may still be rough for you. But we can always create a safer present. We don't need to be perfectly safe. We don't have to love the symptoms, but once we know what they are and that this is what's going on for me, then we know they're temporary and can be reversed and eliminated. So let's focus there and let's not tell the stories of how bad your symptoms have been for the past 1, 2, 10 years. Because that just keeps you in the energetic state of trauma. And what we want to do is remind ourselves that that is no longer happening. And if you have current stuff that's pretty traumatic regarding symptoms in your health, recognize, I know what it is. I've done the assessments, and if it says it's TMS, perceived danger, then I know I'm in the right place because I can impact my outcome and I can resolve these symptoms. So I hope that makes sense to you. As always, folks, love you, and we'll see you tomorrow. Take care.